I remember we went there and they were singing should have went to a bigger club to Declan Rice and all their fans, and that really annoyed me. I hope, when they come here, they come to the Emirates, they realise, no, this is the right club he went to, and I want to put him to the sword, I really do.
You know what, I'd love to see Reece get a start, man, because every time he's come on, he's looked really
He
dynamic.
played really well in this fixture when we played him in the Carabao Cup, didn't he? Yeah. We're in a situation now where you can't afford to slip up week in, week out. AFTV, we are down here at a wet and cold Emirates Stadium just for you guys. Right? Well, listen, first of all, I've got to say Merry Christmas going out to everybody. I hope you had a great one. It's been a nice, relaxing one for Arsenal. We finished top of the league for Christmas, so that was great. But since then, Liverpool have played yesterday and they've returned back to the Summit. So come Thursday night right here at the Emirates Stadium, a very, very important game for Arsenal where they take on West Ham United in the first of 3 London derbies in a row in the Premier League. And joining me to discuss it, we've got Cecil, we've got my brother Laurie as well, at a very cold Emirates, wet Emirates. But looking forward to this one, guys. This is going to be a massive game. Of course, we played West Ham on Boxing Day last year as well. Do you remember what was the significance of that game? Can either of you remember?
You got
It was after the World Cup.
Yeah, first game back after the World Cup, and we ran out 3-1 winners. It was a really entertaining game. I think we went 1-0 down, and then we came back. But
there was big pressure on that game. There was big pressure on that game.
Yeah.
Everyone was returning from the World Cup. People thought Arsenal wouldn't be able to, was top of the league at the time, come back. How they're going to be. That was the question. How are Arsenal going to come back after the World Cup? Will they be able to keep up this form?
There was no Jesus, remember, he was out and that.
Exactly.
But now it's a different game again because, of course, when we played them, they had Declan Rice, right? Now we've got Declan Rice. And it's kind of like the Declan Rice derby. There's a whole thing around Declan Rice. And on top of that, you have to say, we're laughing because Turkish holding the umbrella there and it's blown away in the wind. Right?
One job.
One job and you flop Turkish. But the real significance and the real thing about this game as well is that West Ham, despite selling Declan Rice, have brought in some really good signings in Kudus. They've also brought in Ward-Prowse. And they're doing pretty well in the league. Just beat Manchester United at the weekend. So this
they beat us earlier in the season.
Beat us in the Carabao Cup.
Myself and Cecil were there.
Going to be a tough game for Arsenal this one.
It will be.
How are you guys feeling about it?
Go on, Laurie, you go.
Thanks. You know what? I'm confident. I think the 3-1 at their place, it was a different circumstances. Mind you, it was a bit like this in terms of the weather. But there was a lot of changes. This game, I think, will be entirely different. We're very strong in the league, especially at home. We're there or thereabouts in the table. They will not want to slip up, and I think we'll get the job done.
Yeah, it's one of those games, right, where we're in a situation now where you can't afford to slip up week in, week out. You know what I mean? We saw Aston Villa slipping up against Manchester United. They also slipped up against Sheffield United. We saw Liverpool win to bring them back to the top of the league, and of course, Man City are now back after their travels. So really cannot afford to slip up in this game, Arsenal. They really do need the 3 points.
Yeah, 100% Robbie. I think that's what it is. I think Arsenal have learnt from last season. I think they're aware of, you games. This is now the period where you got to stay on top. Obviously, last season is what I think we threw away the league against these guys at their place when it was 2-2 the draw. So I feel like they're aware. I am confident. I'll be honest. It's here at home. We haven't lost at home. I remember we went to Anfield last week and everyone's saying, especially AT, this is a fortress. We haven't lost here. And I feel that now with the Emirates, and I think we'll be able to get the job done. And I'm very, very confident. I think away from home as well, West Ham's record isn't great. I know they beat Spurs, but apart from that, they got battered by Fulham 5-0 in a few games ago. They also the Liverpool game as well. I know it was in the cup. They got destroyed. I feel like when they come here, I want to see that. I want to see Arsenal.
It's going to be a different game to that Carabao Cup game, though, because they did bounce back by beating Manchester United.
True.
And they are that type of team because they did go to Tottenham as well and beat Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that's not an easy thing to do. So they are definitely a threat, Laurie.
Yeah, no one's underestimating them. On their day, they are a good team. Like I said, myself and Cecil went there early in the season, and they beat us quite comfortably. Let's face it. But then, as we also said, the circumstances that day are very different. And if you look at West Ham's record at Arsenal in the Premier League, it's actually quite poor. So, with all those things being said, I'm expecting Arsenal to, because we need this. We need it badly.
100%.
And I expect us to come through.
I wanted to prove a point, Arsenal. I really do in this fixture, because I remember we went there, you mentioned the game many a times on the 1st of November, and they were singing, should have went to a bigger club, to Declan Rice and all their fans. And that annoyed me. I hope, when they come here, they come to the Emirates, they realise, no, this is the right club he went to. And I want to put them to the sword. I really do. And hopefully we do that. I'm not, like you said, I'm not disrespecting them. I know they're a good side, but I want Arsenal to do
big game for Declan Rice.
Massive.
All the focus is going to be upon him. He didn't have the greatest of games. He weren't on for long.
No, he weren't on.
In that game. No. But when he came on, he didn't have a great game in that Carabao Cup game.
I don't think the manager did him any favours that day.
But this game now, this is different. This is the big game. This is all focus. You come to this game, or if you're watching it on TV tomorrow, the cameras will be trained upon Declan Rice, won't they? He's going to want to have a big game, isn't he, and prove a point.
And let's be honest, he's been brilliant all season. I think, with the exception of Saliba, he's probably been our best player in the Premier League. So, you can imagine how hyped he'll be for this game. The fans will be right behind him. And I reckon we'll see a total reverse of what we saw earlier in the season in terms of his performance. Because that day, he didn't have a good game. But I think when we played over here, I think he'll shine, man.
Yeah. No Kai Havertz tomorrow.
Well, that's
Kai Havertz picking up a yellow card at Liverpool that keeps him out for one game. Is that going to be a big miss? And who would you expect to come in his place?
It's a good question, Rob. I think it is going to be a miss. It's funny me saying this. I never thought we'd be saying, we're not as strong about Kai Havertz. I never thought I'd get to that stage. But I think, the person that's to step in could be a Trossard. Obviously, there's word that Partey was going to be available.
He won't. Mikel Arteta said in his press conference, which we were listening to before we did this, that he's still not there yet to come in. We could see Partey and Tomiyasu back in January, I think. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to see him, in these next couple of games. But
I think the obvious person to come in would have been Jorginho, but apparently he's carrying a knock as well.
I think he had a bit of illness.
What about Emil Smith-Rowe though? There could be an opportunity for him from the beginning.
It'd be nice to see him. I don't know if he'll start. I think Arteta will go with a player that's played more recently, which I think is obviously Leandro Trossard, and I don't think that'll be too much of a downgrade because he's a good player.
All right, let's just take a look at some of the threats coming from West Ham. I want each of you to just identify one player that you think is the biggest threat to Arsenal.
Can I go first?
Yeah. Oh, cool. I know.
Because I know you're
going to go.
Kudos.
Yeah.
He was
impressed,
very. He was their man of the match where we played them in the Carabao Cup. But notwithstanding that, you look at his performances even at the weekend. He's been superb for them.
It's been a great signing for him, hasn't he?
Yeah, there's a few others as well, but
Paqueta is another name that we have to mention. These are two players that I actually would have loved to see in Arsenal.
Yeah.
Kudos, I think he's been superb since he's joined to West Ham. He really has. He's hit the ground running when he's gone there. I've seen his celebration over and over again, him sitting in front of his fans. So him and Paqueta, I think is class. I think he's just got his ability on him, and he can cause problems, especially Arsenal. So those are the two main players.
And listen, to me, there's two. You haven't even mentioned the main player, which is Bowen.
Well, yeah,
right, Bowen, who's been the guy, and his scoring record away from home has been incredible, and also Ward-Prowse as well, whose set piece delivery is one of the best in the league. So they've got a lot of threats throughout the pitch. Arsenal, though, are going to have to try and exploit one of their weaknesses, which is their defence. I don't think their defence, is as strong as they are going forward or in midfield. So it's going to be an area that Arsenal can exploit. But listen, what I'd like to do is sort of run through what we think the 11 might look like for the game tomorrow. In goal, I think we all think that Raya will start.
Yeah, he'll get it.
Right, right back. Ben White still in?
Yeah. He was better, wasn't he, at the last game? He still wasn't attaining the levels that he'd reached.
He hasn't hit the levels that he hit
but he was
last
better. Yeah, he was better.
Right back.
Left back, Zinchenko?
Zinchenko. I think people will be calling for him to be, not calling for him to be dropped, but they'll be questioning him after, obviously, what happened at Anfield. But he is the rightful player to start.
Yeah, no Kivior, you'd still stick with those. Because remember, we are at that sort of stage of the year where, the managers will start looking maybe at rotating a couple because, we've got a game coming up a few days after.
I think we'll see Kivior for the FA Cup game.
All right, but you don't think he'll do much rotation for this? All right. So Saliba and Gabriel, centre backs.
Just on that, Robbie, I just want to say Saliba and Gabriel, just to say that Mikel Antonio is their striker. He's not going to be available due to he picked up an injury in CONCACAF back in November, playing for Jamaica. So
he's been out for a while, hasn't he?
Exactly. So I think you mentioned about weaknesses. That's a weakness in West Ham as well. They haven't really got a striker.
Well, Bowen's been scoring a lot of goals.
Bowen's been great.
It's more from the wide goal.
Whether it's wide or down the middle, it's a threat.
Midfield.
Then the midfield, we obviously Declan Rice will start unless he was a disaster.
Make him captain for the day. How about that?
Right. we know that Odegaard's going to start.
Yep.
Who comes in for Havertz for you two?
If fit, Jorginho.
You bring in Jorginho. Who would you bring in?
Arteta will likely go with Jorginho if he's available, but I'm going to stick with Trossard.
Trossard.
I think he had a great.
Yeah, I haven't got him
off the bench.
I'd like to see.
I wouldn't hate on that.
Yeah, I'd like to see Smith Rowe come in there. Yeah, from the start. I'd like to see Smith Rowe come in there.
Wow.
I think he's chomping at the bit. He's a midfield player who can play in that position.
Got a lot to prove as well.
I would like to see him coming in that position, but that's going to be the intriguing one. And don't forget to watch our starting 11 tomorrow to find out an hour before the game what the starting 11 is going to be, because that position, who replaces Havertz, is going to be very intriguing. And then up front, do you see any changes, or do you think he still goes with Martinelli, Saka and Jesus?
You know what? I'm going to say this, right? Yes, that would be the obvious thing to do.
Come on, say Reece
but
Nelson.
if Reece was to come in for Martinelli, I wouldn't.
Reece for Martinelli.
For Martinelli, not. I would have said.
Okay.
I would have said Saka if I was going to say Reece Nelson for obviously.
You know what? I'd love to see Reece get a start, man, because every time he's come on, he's looked really.
He
dynamic.
played really well in this fixture when we played him in the Carabao Cup, didn't he? Yeah.
Are we respecting West Ham enough? Robbie said he wants to see Emile Smith Rowe. You saying you want to see Reece Nelson?
No. I want to see Emile Smith Rowe because obviously we're not going to have Havertz. So otherwise it'd be Havertz I'd have in, right? And up front, if I'm being honest, I would probably. I would think about maybe leaving out Martinelli and bringing in Trossard. I don't think Martinelli's had a good game for the last few games, and I think maybe a Trossard in from the start. He's a goal scorer. You know what I mean? He hasn't started a game for a little while. I wouldn't mind seeing Trossard in there on that left-hand side from the start. But,
I don't know. I think Martinelli's been good here. I think away from him he hasn't been great. But I think
you know what it is, well? I don't even look at it as being dropped. I see it as rotation.
We should do that. We should.
And a bit of rotation may have to come into play because, a few days later, we're away at Fulham. And that, again, another very, very important game.
But don't you think Reece, though, has looked really dynamic and energetic? And
yeah. I'm not sure if I bring him.
It's the start is the question. I don't think to start. I think I agree with you. He's been good. Off the bench. He seems like he's chomping at the bit as well. But to start, I think we get the job done early, and then we start looking to bring on the players that you guys have mentioned, Emile Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson.
Okay. What I want to hear from you guys in the comments is what you would like to see as your starting 11, because we are in that Christmas period when we do see teams get rotated a little bit. Maybe Kivior, should he come in? Do you put a Trossard or Jorginho or a Smith Rowe into that midfield? Or do you change up? Maybe Martinelli. Does Saka need a little rest? I don't know. Going to leave that down to you guys. Let us know in the comments. Last thing we're going to do, get our predictions. Let's get your prediction, Lauren, for the game.
You know what? They beat us 3-1 early in the season. I'm going 3-1 tomorrow.
I was going to do that as well. I'm going to say 4-1 to Arsenal.
4-1? Yeah. All right, that'd be nice.
I wanted to, make an example.
All right, I'd like to get I've been predicting a 3-1 as well. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm going to say about that, don't you?
What's that?
Declan Rice on the score sheet.
Hat-trick,
Declan
please,
Rice.
Hat-trick, please.
You're giving me all witnessing the Declan Rice derby here. The one thing I would say as well, Arsenal got a very good record in London. I don't think we've lost now for 17 London derbies. An incredible record. So this again is another opportunity for Arsenal to win. The thing is though, we need the win. Draws are no good right now. We need a victory. We had the draw against Liverpool. We need to get 3 points, get us back top. So let's hope we can do that. Follow us here on AFTV, and also don't forget to check out our store right now. We've got 25% off, a big sale going on, right? You can get gear like this, right? So 25% off, so make sure you check that out right now in our store. But listen, thanks for watching. Once again, Merry Christmas, wishing you a Happy New Year as well. And a big game taking place here Thursday night, Arsenal versus West Ham United.